Square.
Content, information, and opinions expressed during the related show are those of the show personalities and guest alone, and not those of Vic Canellis Media Group, its parent, affiliates, or stations. VCMG Live is not responsible for any content, information, or opinions expressed. User bears full responsibility for their reliance on such content, information, or opinions.
Welcome to Making Money with Laura Sanders, a name you can trust. With over 20 years of real estate experience and selling over 150 homes a year, Laura Sanders is the #1 Remax agent in the state of Florida for 2021. Join us each week as we discuss how to make money through buying and flipping homes, to renting versus selling, and everything in between. To join the conversation, call in live. 888-994-4995, Studio A.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Making Money with Laura Sanders, and I am your host, Laura Sanders. Tonight, we're supposed to have our guest. Who's the host? I'm the host. Our guest tonight is to be Marty Kiar. He is the Broward County Property Appraiser, and gosh, we have so many questions for him, but however, he has not called in yet, so what do we do when we don't have a guest show up? This will be the first time, but let's see if he does. That would be like disappointing, like high school and not having like the band show up. That would be kind of disappointing. But I have faith that maybe he's just a little late, or maybe we got the date wrong. Anyway, let's talk about some things that have to do with taxes. A lot of people have a lot of questions about taxes, and nobody really wants to pay taxes, but let's talk about some things that have happened in the past and how we can help you to make sure that you don't make the same mistakes that other people have made. For instance, property taxes. Most people buy a house and look at, when they're online looking at the taxes, they look at what the taxes say, which is the current taxes of that owner. Most buyers think that those taxes are going to be the same later on, but that is not true. So let's talk about how taxes work. Typically, in most counties, when we're going to be talking most counties, we're going to talk about Palm Beach, Broward, and Miami-Dade. Typically, those taxes are about 2% of the purchase price. Now, millage rate can vary from county to county and city to city, and that will be dependent upon whatever that county charges or that city charges. For instance, most everybody thinks that Parkland have the highest taxes, but that's not always the case. Actually, City of Coral Springs is higher than Parkland. So when a buyer is looking at Zillow and they see that the taxes are $5,000, they're thinking that that's what their taxes are going to be moving forward. However, let's take a $300,000 property. If I was buying a $300,000 property in Broward County, you're going to get $25,000 homestead exemption and an additional $25,000 homestead exemption for education, which then removes a slight amount of money from that, which would be a total of $50,000. So if you take $50,000 off of your $300,000 purchase, that leaves you with $250,000. So if we multiply 2% by $250,000, we get $5,000, but it's a little bit less than that. It's probably about $4,600. So if the current owner is paying $2,500 because they bought the house 20 years ago for $150,000, then that's why their taxes are going to be less. So you don't want to depend on those taxes. Now, this is a really good reason why when you're hiring a realtor, you want to make sure that you're hiring somebody that understands what your taxes are going to be. Even when you're hiring your mortgage lender, you want to be really careful that they're telling you this information, because back in 2007, 8, 9, 10, when people were losing their home, it was because they were buying homes at very high prices. They were buying them from people that had bought their homes for low prices. And then when the taxes got reassessed, what would happen is, let's say your taxes were $1,500 when you bought the house, then they got reassessed to $9,000. Well, that's a big difference. Take that difference, divide it by 12. Can you afford another $600 a month in your monthly payment? That's something you need to ask yourself when you're buying a house. So taxes are something that is really, really important to understand before buying a home, and you want to make sure that the people you work with, they're honest, they're telling you the truth, because I know that a lot of times agents and lenders don't give you this information to say, hey, your payment's going to readjust. The worst thing that happens is if they don't tell you, remember, you're putting money every month in an escrow account when you're buying a property, okay? So you're going to be short not only what you didn't put in, but you're going to be short for the following year. So they're going to reassess your escrow account. So they're going to want to collect double the amount that you're short. Because remember, you don't have the money for last year, and you're going to need the money for next year, because this whole entire time you've been paying into your escrow account, you didn't have that money put away. So if that difference was as much as $600, your payment's going to go up $1,200 per month. That's pretty shocking, and that's when people start to freak out and call the realtors and say, I want to sell my house. And who do you think that they're mad at later on? Either the realtor or the lender. So we do have a caller. I'm sure it wasn't for me. I'm sure it was for Marty, but let me see if I can help the caller. So who do we have? Nicole. Hi, Nicole. How are you?
Hi, Laura. How you doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
Good.
I don't know what happened,
thanks for the information.
Yes. So what kind of question do you have? Maybe I was hoping, I mean, they even confirmed with me yesterday, so I'm sorry. I was pretty excited that they were coming on, and guess what? They're not here.
Right.
So I don't know if I can help you with your question.
Well, my question is, right. Well, I've been residing at the same residence for 38 years with my mom, except when I went to college. Been paying the bills, et cetera, for all these years. And unfortunately, my mom recently passed, and she left me the house. And I was just wondering, the homestead was taken away, and I wanted to see, since it's my homestead, why was it taken away, and how can I get it back, since I've been living here, and I can, prove all that with documents. So that was my question for him.
That's a great question. Now, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a tax assessor. But what I would hope, and what the only thing I can definitely say is for sure what should have happened is you should have been put on as a ladybird deed. And then that way it would have automatically went to you. Now, the question at hand here is, and we're going to try to get you an answer one way or another, whether it's tonight or another day, so we'll get your information, is why wouldn't, even though you weren't on the deed, why wouldn't it automatically, since you lived in the home and it was left to you in the will, correct?
Yeah.
Because you were residing in the home, why wouldn't they allow that to continue on? So that's a great question. And you know what? If he does call, we're going to definitely ask him. I don't know if there's an issue. Maybe he... Yeah, I emailed him too. So I am so sorry. I mean, this is the first time we have not had a guest show.
Okay.
But we're going to get you an answer one way or another, I promise you. So thank you for calling in, Nicole.
Awesome. Well,
So
thank you. Thanks
you're
for all
welcome.
that you do, and you give a lot of great information. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. Bye-bye. There's a lot of questions. So here's another thing that people don't realize, and I would love to know how many people actually knew this, but tax portability. Does anybody understand what tax portability is? It's a real good way to make money as far as saving. So if you were to buy a house and you owned it for 20 years, you would have what's called portability. Now, you have to stay in the state of Florida in order to be able to have the portability. So with that being said, if you were to move to Alabama, you could forget that when you sell your house. But let's just say you have two ways to look at this. Number one is you want to move up in a house, or you want to move down in a house. So maybe you're downsizing, you move to a condo, or you're upsizing and you want to buy a bigger house. This is great because you have what's called portability. Now, when I've seen people downsizing, I've seen their taxes go to such a big difference. I've seen as much as like $3,000 or $4,000 difference because they've owned the home for 20 years. So portability is something that's really important to know about. And the portability part of it, right, where you're going up or down in purchase price, is something that you have 3 years in order to take. But when does that 3 years start? That's a trick. You would think that it would start from the time of when you sold your home, but it actually will go 3 years from the previous January from when you sold. So right now we're in March. So if we had sold our home in March this year, it would start the 3 years from this past January. So that's something that you guys really need to think about and consider. But we do have another phone call. I know it wasn't for me, but let's see. Who do we have? Matthew? Hi, Matthew.
Hey, Matt, or hey, Laura, it's Matt.
Oh, hey, how are you?
I got confused.
You got confused who you were?
Can you go into, huh?
You got confused who you were?
I did, yeah. It's not uncommon. Can you do me a favor and go into a little detail on tax rates in different states and homes
Tax
for
rates in
investment
different
versus
states.
homestead? I don't even know what that is.
Yeah. Okay, so I can't go into different tax rates in different states because you know what? I live in Florida. And I'm a realtor in Florida. So I couldn't really help you with that. As far as homestead, so where are you from, Matt?
Atlanta.
Atlanta. Okay. So Atlanta would be completely different than here. And homestead here basically means that you get protected by 3% a year for your taxes. So every year, once you apply for homestead, you cannot be raised more than 3% a year. You're protected by homestead. So, for instance, I own some investment property.
Is that the house you live in?
Yeah, so that's what I was going to just say. So I own some investment property, and they passed a law several years ago that for investments, it would be 10%. But for your primary, it's 3%. So if you don't have homestead on it, and here's what the biggest problem people make. The realtors, and I send this out every year in January, the realtors, if you don't remind your customers to go ahead and apply for homestead, and 3 years go by, then they're not protected all those 3 years. Their taxes are going up 10%, 10%, 10%, as if it's an investment. So you want to make sure that you apply for homestead immediately to make sure that you're getting all the benefits you want. So if, Matt, you decide you want to buy a house here as an investment, it's going to be 10% every year. If you decide that you want to move here and you live here, I believe it's for more than 6 months out of the year, then you can apply for homestead. But you cannot, if you have homestead in Georgia, which I wouldn't know, or Atlanta, then you would not be able to get that homestead. Does that make sense? You got to pick where you're going to be as your primary residence.
Got it. Okay.
Well, I thank you for calling in.
Appreciate it.
And if you want to buy a house in Florida, give me a call.
I will.
954-650-0827. All right, everyone.
All right, cool. Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you for calling. All right, everyone. We're going to go to commercial break, and let's hope he calls in sometime in between this. All right. Take a look at our sponsors.
At Title Brothers LLC, our mission is to give you the best closing experience anywhere in the country. Founded in 2020 by Adam Lohman and Josh Wiseman, here at Title Brothers, we're your one-stop shop for residential real estate, title insurance, title and escrow services, real estate closing, and due diligence services. While primarily located in South Florida, we also host dozens of closings throughout the state and even electronically as requested. To contact the Title Brothers, call us at 954-995-4988 or visit our website and get a quick quote today.
Whether you're buying, selling, refinancing, or building your dream home, you have a lot riding on your loan specialist. Max Fish, a top 1% mortgage loan officer in the nation, will give you a same-day qualifying quote. Max Fish is committed to providing his customers with mortgage services that exceed their expectations, ensuring that you make the right choice for you and your family is his ultimate goal. Contact Max Fish today at 954-729-6933 or max.fisch@nwmcorp.net.
You have been watching Making Money with Laura. For more information, contact Laura Sanders at 954-650-0827 or visit her website at lauraess.com. And now back to the show.
If you're looking to buy or sell a home, I think I'd be a great asset for you. So give me a call at 954-650-0827. I currently feel like I'm on prom night and my date didn't show up. I got bit by a dog yesterday, so I'm not really sure if I should even go out for the next week. Maybe I might just lock myself in the house. I'm not really sure, but whatever, it's all fine. So I heard that he actually called in. So everybody hold on, because we definitely got to ask Nicole's question. Marty? Marty Kiar is our guest. He is the Broward County Property Appraiser. So they're patching him through right now. Hello? Marty, can you hear me?
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I can. Is this Laura? I am so sorry.
I feel like it's prom night. I feel like prom.
I feel horrific. I'm sorry. I completely forgot about it. And it was on my calendar. I was out jogging. I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot to call Laura. So I ran home and just called. And so I hope you can forgive me. That's my fault completely.
That's okay. So we actually did have a call in for you. And so since she called in, let me ask her question for you. We actually had a couple of call-ins.
Of course.
So we had a lady call in, and she asked the question. She's lived in her home with her mother for 38 years. Mm-hmm. Her mother passed away. Mm-hmm. The house was left to her in the will, and wanted to know why the homestead was removed.
That's such a great question, and I appreciate so much you asking me. And again, Laura, thank you for your understanding about me being late. It was my fault completely. So I'd love to look at the specific situation as to what happened. And I can definitely talk about it in general terms, mm-hmm. but if she could email me at martykiar@bcpa.net with the address, then I can really look in to see what occurred and see if there's a way that we can help. But generally, here's what happens. When somebody buys a home, they file for homestead. And when they file for homestead, the Save Our Homes Assessment Clause in the Florida Constitution kicks into place. That basically says that every year thereafter, the value they're taxed on can't go up more than a maximum of 3%. So over time, your market value gets much higher than your assessed value, which stays capped, which keeps your property taxes low. If you are the only one on the deed and you're the only one homesteaded, when you pass on, under Florida law, the property has to get reset to market value. So all the value that the mom wasn't paying taxes on goes away and it gets reset to market value. Now, there are a few ways where somebody can protect themselves, or you can protect your children while you're living if they live with you in your home. So what somebody could do is if when her mother was alive and she lived there with her mother, if she would have changed the deed to joint tenants with right of survivorship and also made it her homestead as well, then when her mom would have passed on, she would have kept and paid at the same value that her mom was paying on. But if they didn't do that, then under Florida law, it has to reset to market value. I think it's something that is very unfair at times, especially if there are people that have lived in a home for a very, very, very long time, but it is the way that the Florida statutes mandate that it must be. And I'm thinking that's probably what occurred in this case. But what I would really love, if she's listening, if you could please, like I said, email me at martykiar@bcpa.net. That's MartyKiar@bcpa.net. I'd be very, very happy to look at her property and to see if there's any way that I can help.
Okay, that's a great answer. So another question that has come up and about is as far as people, getting back taxed because they've claimed for homestead, right? And they really haven't been living there. And I've heard that people, if you get separated and a wife stays in the house and the husband goes off somewhere else, in that particular instance, if the husband does homestead in another state, how does that work? They're still married.
That's such a great question. That's a great question. So first, under Florida law, and under the Florida Constitution, you can only have homestead exemptions on one unit per family. And a family under Florida law is a married couple when it comes to a homestead exemption. And so you can only have exemptions on one property. You can't have any more on anything else. If you're still married, you have to basically pick the home that you want to have an exemption on. If the husband or the wife are still married and they move somewhere else and they file for a homestead exemption, then under Florida law, that would be considered fraud. And ultimately, one of the exemptions would have to be removed, and then they would have to be back taxed. We do have in our office a pretty aggressive fraud division. And what they do is they go throughout the county every single day, and they actually really look for people who are intentionally cheating the system. And let me give you an idea of where somebody could really be penalized significantly for cheating the system. If somebody lives in Broward County, or if somebody lives in New York, for example, they probably have an exemption called the STAR exemption. It's an educational property tax exemption. They then move to Broward County and they file for homestead. And if they file for homestead, but they keep their exemption in New York, they're actually committing fraud because you only have one exemption on one property per family unit, which is a married couple. And so over time, they're going to get a tax break here. But ultimately, Florida law requires us, if we find out, and we generally do, to pull the illegal exemption. We back tax up to 10 years, include a 50% penalty and 15% interest. They can get very hefty, but it's hefty because the legislature wants to deter people from cheating the system. And it's really important because the homestead exemption is a very, very valuable exemption. And anybody entitled to get it should absolutely get it. They've earned it under the Constitution. But somebody that is violating the law or frauding the system, they shouldn't be able to fraudulently get that exemption, because what that means is it hurts everybody else playing by the rules.
Right. And so we actually have run out of time. If there's any way we can get you back another, it's okay. Listen, you showed up. Yes. It's better than you not showing up at all, right? Oh. So if we could get you back another time.
Such a mistake. Yes.
That's okay. That's okay.
I would be honored.
I've met you before in the past.
You'll have me.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Anytime you'll have me, I'll be on in a heartbeat. I made such a mistake by missing this. I feel terrible. So whenever is your earliest convenience, I will make myself available. You just let me know, and I promise I will not be late.
Awesome. I appreciate that.
I am just exceptionally embarrassed by this. So
no,
thank
it's
you.
okay. We appreciate that you got on. So we look forward to having you again. And trust me when I tell you, there's so many questions when it comes to this that it's a really important topic. Yes. So you could tell me really the first half if I did a good job explaining taxes.
Oh, no, Laura, you are absolutely fantastic. You're wonderful and so understanding, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk to the public. I just am, like I said, I can't believe I did this, and so I just appreciate your understanding, and I can't apologize enough for being late and for forgetting about this. I apologize, but thank you, Laura. And
thank you so much.
Like I said, the next time you want to have me on, I will be there in a heartbeat.
All right, that sounds good. We'll have you come here physically so I see you.
I will. I promise. Wherever you are, I will be there. And I just thank you so much. Thank you.
I appreciate you calling in. All right. Well, everyone, thank you for listening to Making Money with Laura Sanders. Thank you, Marty, for coming on the show tonight, Broward County Property Appraiser. And if you're looking for a top agent, you need someone to help you remodel your home to get top dollar, or help somebody to help you maneuver your tax issues, give me a call. Laura Sanders, 954-650-08, and let's make it a great day and don't get bit by a dog.
Thank you for tuning in for Making Money with Laura Sanders, a name you can trust. To join the conversation, call us at the studio, 888-994-4995 Studio A, or contact Laura directly at 954-650-0827. Laura Sanders, a name you can trust. We look forward to seeing